Hello, Newsmark viewers. We continue to bring you all the hot developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. And as you know, the war continues. Developments on the front line have become a direct impact on the war process, and the mutual firepower and resistance forces of the parties on the front line were one of the most important indicators throughout the war. The increasing pressure of the Ukrainian army in recent days has a great impact on the Russian army, and according to information obtained from the Russian sources, the Russian army is dealing with rotation problems. The lack of coordination is also on the agenda of the Russian army due to the lack of personnel and the frequency of operational errors. In addition to all these, the Russian troops which are being squeezed by the Ukrainian army are making incredible mistakes. Throughout the war, we've reported that the Russian army suffered many losses due to the mistakes, and unlike all the reported mistakes, this time the mistake made by the Russian army was mind-blowing. So the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by the Russian army is now in its third year, and the news that emerged the other day reveals the big mistakes by the Russian army. And according to the information obtained, the Russian army bombed its own territory. It bombed its own territory not once, not twice, but 4 times. After the scandalous news emerged, a large-scale investigation was launched, and the most striking point is that the same area was bombed 4 times and no one noticed it. Times of the war are critical, and it's very difficult to make amends for mistakes, and for the state to bomb areas under its control is inexplicable. Many states have had to pay huge reparations for their missteps in previous conflicts, and Russia may also have to pay huge reparations when this war ends, because there are teams collecting very detailed reports on Russia's interventions. Now, if you're ready, let's examine the latest developments together. As Newsmark, we continue to bring you developments regarding Russia-Ukraine war, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our daily reports and explanations. I also read all of your comments on our videos. Please continue to share your ideas about our content in the comments with us, and tell us in the comments what content you would like to see on the Newsmark channel. Let's start if you're ready. Newsmark reports. So the information from local sources shows that the Russian troops are making mistakes after mistakes, and according to our reports, Russian forces accidentally dropped 4 bombs on their own village near the Ukrainian border. After the horrific explosions in the area, the population has been in a state of great unrest, and 4 Russian gliding bombs were dropped on the town of Shebekino in response to attacks on Ukraine's Kharkiv region, and this is located in the Belgorod region on the border with Ukraine, local sources reported on social media. No casualties were reported, but there was a damage to the facade of the residential building. The Belgorod region is regularly used by Moscow's forces to launch attacks on Ukraine and is home to several Russian military bases and training grounds that Kiev has attacked. The region has recently become the focus of daily explosions as Russian President Vladimir Putin's war continues on the border. Investigations and reports have revealed that 3 of Russia's deadly FAB fuse bombs were found in Shebekino, and another one was found the same day near a residential building, and the explosions damaged the facade of the house and a fence and a window. The latest reported incident is the latest in a series of incidents involving the Russian military accidentally dropping munitions and missiles on its own territory. In the previous day, a report revealed that the Russian military has been involved in a number of wrongful interventions since the beginning of the war. According to reports, over the past 3 months, at least 46 aerial bombs had been dropped from the aircraft of Moscow's forces on Russian territory or on the occupied territory of Ukraine. The involvement of the Russian troops in attacks against their own regions has been met with public outrage, and most of the Russian units targeted by the Ukrainian army as part of the strategic operations are hit with precisions, and the Russian army, on the other hand, lacks precisions in the critical attacks. Russian officials admit that they have dropped bombs on their own territory, but in general, they tend to cover up the incidents. Since the beginning of the war, the losses suffered by the Russian army as a result of the negligence and mistakes have been very prominent. Kremlin officials are also concerned about this, and the strategic offensives of the Ukrainian army are also upsetting the plans of the Russian army. In recent months, it was announced that the icebreaker ship was being built by Russia, and Ukraine's latest attack seems to have disturbed Russia's plans. Denis Manturov, Russia's first deputy prime minister, had announced that the Rossiya, one of kind of ships for year-round navigation on the Northern Sea routes, one of the few routes in the Arctic, would be built by an estimated 2030. However, the construction of the ship is becoming increasingly difficult for Russia, which needs to produce some components, and the project is facing cost overruns and the delays following the damage to the Ukrainian side. The steel cutting for the Rossiya began in July 2020 at the Zavitsa shipyard near the far eastern city of Volodivotsk, but the Russian sources report that work is in a third of the way ahead of schedule. The delays in shipbuilding indicates that the process is unfavorable for Russia. The war, which is deeply shaking the Russian economy, is becoming more evident as Ukraine attacks hit critical industrial facilities, and the Russian industrial facilities targeted by the Ukrainian army are ostensibly important for Russian economy. Thanks to its oil infrastructure, Russia has been able to continue exporting, albeit in a limited way, but after the Ukrainian attacks, it could no longer to do so, and while the Ukrainian army continues its offensive, it is also countering the Russian attacks. Mikhailo Leshchuk, commander of the Air Force of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, gave information about the thwarted Russian attacks in statements the other day, and the Ukrainian defenders have shot down 29 of 29 Shahed 136-131 drones used by the Russian troops to attack Odessa, Mikhailivka, Pavlovka, and Livla region. Ukrainian troops, who got early warning of the Russian attack, successfully repelled it, but the Russian forces also targeted the Kharkiv region with the Iskander and ballistic missiles, but the Ukrainian air defense successfully destroyed the missiles. I want to know, what do you think about the combat capabilities of the Ukrainian army, and what do you think about the Russian army launching attacks on its own territory, and do you think the fact that the Russian army has repeatedly attacked its own territory can be considered a mistake? What is the impact of the Ukrainian attacks on the Russia's objectives? We care about your opinion. Please share it with us.